What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's up, Fantasy Points? This is the DFS cage match for week 8. We have been through 7 of these already, but if you are new here, here's how this works. We have a 3-man show. It's always me and Jake Tribbey. We have a rotating weekly guest. We are going to do a snake draft on DraftKings. So we're going to be drafting DraftKings teams, but of course, no overlapping players. We're doing a snake draft here, and we're playing for charity. Each of us chooses a charity every week. The winner's charity gets $100 from Fantasy Points. They will donate $100 in the winner's name. Our guest today is, of course, Tyler, aka Emo Cowboy on Twitter. Tyler, how are you doing today? You're an ass man.
Damn-tastic, Neil. Thanks for having me on. Very excited today, chopping it up.
I let people know that Tyler was going to probably talk about ass at some point on this stream. It's just inevitable. Regardless of what you're streaming about, Tyler is going to talk about ass at some point. So glad we got the ass shirt out of the way early. Now the sad part of the show for me is, well, I guess we don't need to talk about. No, yeah, we do. We do need to talk about who won last week, because it means that Jake's charity is going to change. Jake has been doing Friends of North Augusta Animals every week so far this year. He said he's going to change it as soon as he wins. The sad part for me is that Jake did finally win last week, so now Jake gets to change his charity. But also, I guess the happy part is Friends of North Augusta Animals getting $100 on behalf of Fantasy Points. So that is happy news, right, Jake?
Yeah, no, it's great news. You know, there were a lot of haters coming after me, a lot of people saying that I was completely washed, that I was, a total DFS fraud, that I would never be successful in the cage. I think a lot of lesser men would have completely been broken by the hate that I faced from, Neil and, everyone online. It was, it was pretty overwhelming at times, but again, resiliency is one of my core values, and, I persevered, and I'm excited to, obviously keep this winning streak going here. Now that I've finally gotten hot.
I was admittedly trying to break you, but he's young. He's got that young man strength. So was not able to completely break Jake, but I'll try. I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying until the end of the season to break Jake. Congrats to Friends of North Augusta Animals and Jake on the win last week. Now, Jake, as a result of your win, you got to choose a new charity for this week, and you chose Beloved Asheville. Do you want to tell me a little bit about Beloved Asheville?
Yeah, so this is a really great charity. It's like a grassroots local Asheville charity that's helping, obviously primarily now with hurricane relief, which is, just massively needed in the Asheville area. It's, the hurricane obviously touched me personally here in Augusta. Me and my girlfriend had to leave for a week, go stay with my mom because we had no power. There were trees everywhere. It was a bit of a disaster here. Asheville was hit significantly harder. It's a place that I've vacationed to a handful of times. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. It's truly a shame what has happened there, and I'm really excited to win them $100 this week for some hurricane relief. And I really like that it's a smaller local charity. I think a lot of these larger charities just aren't super efficient with how they use funds overall. So I've generally been trying to target some smaller charities, and I think this is a great example of one.
Yeah, great choice there. And then Tyler, you chose Houston Humane Society as your charity of choice. You want to say a word or two about Houston Humane Society?
Yeah, this is near and dear to my heart. This is where I adopted both of my current pups. We lost one this last weekend, and so
I'm sorry.
We'll be fighting for the Humane Society. They do a lot of great work. I love donating to them every year. They do a fantastic job, and they're a bright spot in the local community. For all the pets needing good homes and sheltering.
Very nice, very nice. And then same charity as last week. Healing Hearts is the rescue from which I got my dog. It's a dog rescue, but they are dog and cat rescue, pet rescue. But they also primarily deal with pets that have been through some sort of injury. So, you'll have like the one-legged dogs. My dog had double hip replacement surgery, or not double hip replacement, but surgery on both of his hips shortly before we got him. A lot of dogs recovering from some sort of injury. So great local organization here in Minnesota. Healing Hearts Rescue is who I will be playing for this week. Before we get into the competition for this coming week, of course, we always want to do a review, even as painful as it is for me this week to do a review of last week. We will do a review of our lineups. And last place here was Jacob Sanderson, came in third place with just under 67 points. And as the guest, Tyler, I always ask the guest to review the previous guest's lineup. So what do you think? I'm seeing a lot of snowflakes here. Are you seeing anything like in this lineup, Tyler?
As a Houstonian, I haven't seen this much snow since 2008 when we got a whole quarter of an inch, and it was a phenomenal day. This is classic. I think I know ball, but I don't know ball. Jesus Christ, Jalen Coker, I barely know her. It's just that's a core tenet. Oof. The Coker steam. It's just like what secret chat the cabal was gassing themselves up for 2 days to feel confident about that click. Always an interesting one.
Coker, an interesting play for sure. Man, you're winning yourself an enemy here with the talk about claiming Jacob Sanderson does not know ball. I mean, that is quite the claim from
Sanderson. Sanderson is like the opposite end of the Matic. Like Sanderson knows so much ball that he gets so caught up in the weeds that he forgets to take a step back and look at the forest and let it align and let him show him the way. But that's a compliment. He knows too much ball that he just gets lost in the sauce.
He's seen too much Jalen Coker in college. You're saying he knows too much about Jalen Coker. Like he shouldn't have heard
a lot of Holy Cross tape.
Yeah. The only Holy Cross was what they did to this lineup, man.
That is right. Yeah, it did not work out well at all. Of course, Juju Smith-Schuster hurt in the first quarter. Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Ty Chandler, he was obviously assuming that Aaron Jones is going to be out, so that hurt. And Jaden Daniels also hurt in the first quarter on the very first drive. Man, that was kind of a tough run out for Jacob's lineup. Pretty clearly didn't go as planned. Same thing happened to me. Now, I am not a man to make excuses, so I'm not here to make any excuses. So I'm not going to bring up the fact that 3 of my pass catchers had their quarterback injured early in the game and didn't get to play with the starting quarterback there. You pick guys for like Brock Bowers, Trey Tucker because it's star quarterback AOC. That's obviously why you pick those guys. So I'm not going to bring up though that I lost my star quarterbacks. That of course at the time we did the show, we thought that probably James Cook and Devin Singletary were going to be out, and then they miraculously both played, which hurt both of these running backs quite a bit. I'm not here to make excuses. So I'm just going to say, really, it's Andy Dalton's fault. So no excuses here, but it is Andy Dalton's fault for not being able to outscore. As I noted on Twitter, Andy Dalton, literally all I needed from Andy Dalton was to outscore Daniel Jones. The rest of my team and Jake's team scored the exact same number of fantasy points. I needed Andy Dalton to outscore Daniel Jones, and he fell on his face against one of the worst pass defenses in the entire NFL. It was just
the worst.
It was painful. It was painful. But I guess I can congratulate Jake for pulling out the victory here with 101.66 fantasy points is what did it for Jake this week. Jake, how do you feel about your team?
Yeah, I mean, some people are going to look at this week's final score and say like, wow, that was a pretty close one. I mean, this was a dominant 4-point victory from me. I had the lead the whole time. Don't worry about kickoff times. Now that I've noted that, it had nothing to do with me only drafting 1 p.m. players. All of our quarterbacks got hurt or got benched. I simply drafted the best quarterback who got hurt or benched in Daniel Jones. Kenny Walker obviously looking like Calvin Johnson combined with Barry Sanders. That was a pretty easy click for me. We had a handful of snowflakes, but still, even my snowflakes outperformed some of your guys' snowflakes. For instance, Noah Brown at 4,000 absolutely crushed Juju Smith-Schuster at 4,000. I simply know ball, and I think this lineup proves it. By far, the funniest pick was David Njoku, who I almost talked myself out of on stream. He dropped 23.6 for me. So yeah, obviously this was a fantastic team. In terms of like a moral victory, this was probably closer to like an 80 or 100 point win. But sometimes, the scoreboard doesn't quite reflect, what actually happened in our hearts.
The David Njoku pick, you made the pick and I was immediately like, damn it. I was planning on going double tight end. I already drafted Brock Bowers. I was going to add David Njoku double tight end. Jacob also said like, damn it. That was like his whole plan was to take David Njoku. So that pick ended up being easily the difference for you. Worked out very well for you. One other note, while I'm not making excuses, is Brock Bowers 7 yards short of the bonus. If he had one more catch for 7 yards, again, that would have done it for me. Just so brutal for me to not get that 5th win in a row. But I guess I'll settle for 4 in a row. It's good. It's good that Jake got this one.
I'm surprised you didn't mention McLaurin, who's 2 yards away from the bonus and was still playing like late into the 4th quarter. He had, I think, like a 20-yard reception down the stretch that really had me sweating. Although not really, because I think we all knew deep down that I was dominating and was a lock to win this week.
Deontay Johnson, I 1 reception for 17 yards for Deontay Johnson. Just this combo, Andy Dalton, Deontay Johnson against the Commanders. I mean, what is that? Like, are the Commanders, are they a better defense than I'm giving them credit for? I guess is the real question here. Like, I think of them as being one of the bottom 3 or 4 pass defenses in the NFL. Do you guys see it any differently?
No, they're hot dog shit, but it's also the Panthers. And so, and it's also
overrated Andy Dalton. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's also Andy Dalton. He has high highs and he has valley-esque lows. So this is just the game you play with a backup quarterback on a shitty bottom 3 team, and the Commanders are a hot team. So you just got to get lucky. I mean, they had a pick 6 against Lamar. So it's just, defensive swings aren't the worst thing, aren't the craziest thing in the world when you're facing just a really bad team.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, they're still bottom 10 in EPA per play allowed. They look really soft through the air and, pretty soft on the ground. So I don't think this is a defense to shy away from.
With all of that said, it is time for us to move on from last week to get Neil back into the win column. But we start with, this is week 8, which means I go before Jake. Yeah, because I do even weeks first. But Tyler, you get your pick of where you're going. So do you want to go first, second, or third? Totally up to you.
Well, I'm gonna cheat here and say, what y'all been doing this for 7 weeks. So like, what's the sweet spot pick? Because I need a soft serve. We're talking about all this soft stuff. I want to give myself a little leg up. I feel like number 1 pick is not optimal for like playing the room.
I think it's dependent on the week. There are some weeks where there is like a standout 101, like just a clear best value.
Right.
I'm not sure this is one of those weeks. This is a fairly deep
Doesn't feel
week
like it. Yeah.
Overall. I mean, we have 13 games, like, with Jameis Winston starting, that opened up a ton of Browns value. Obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about the Dolphins a lot because just a total pricing mistake by DraftKings on all the Dolphins guys. So, I mean, I probably shouldn't be steering you closer to like an optimal decision, but that's
well, and that's why I asked, because I'm going to cheat a little bit by extracting some delicious information. I think with that, I feel like I don't know, all day. I think the 2 spot allows me to kind of play the room. So we're just gonna all vibes, no optimum here. We'll go 2.
All right, you're going with the 2 spot, so that means that I am up, which I don't totally love, if I'm being honest with you. This is a tough one. I'm not seeing.
Boom! Already in Neil's head. Mission
accomplished.
It's Neil's. I mean, he's clearly rattled after my win, and with Tyler's talk, it's going to be. I mean, this is going to be a tough week for you, Neil.
It was tough. I mean, losing to Jake, like I clearly I'm spiraling at this point. I don't know what to do. What is this game we're playing? I don't even know where I am right now. I'm just totally spiraling. But I'm going to do my best to find a play that I love here.
Yeah,
so
well, Neil
give me
thinks
1
about
second.
this.
I
should also point out that the fatigue of a long season would obviously wear on an elderly man like Neil a lot more than young men like me and Tyler. So that's another thing I wanted to point out to our lovely viewers.
You are strengthening my resolve right now. I am going to win by so much this week.
We'll see. Right. This show tests all of our resolve.
It really does. Man, this is tough. Just projects the best by so much that, and I don't see anybody else that I love. This feels like such a terrible first overall pick, but I think I am going to do it anyway because he just projects the best point per dollar by kind of a margin right now. I am going to go with Kate Otten with my first overall pick. Okay. I know it feels gross. He's 30, but like it's such a even tier for me. Like it's gross. So I'm just going to take the point per dollar guy. I don't know. I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, this is just a crazy pick. I get that, there's more projectable volume there for Otten, obviously. No Godwin, no Mike Evans. It makes sense. There's been positive coach speak on Otten. The only problem is he's never really been a real target earner. I mean, sure, he can, catch while he gets hit, but that's really the only positive thing you can say about a guy like Cade Otton. I mean, he just moves horrifically. You could name multiple UFL tight ends, Neil, that move better than this guy with the ball in their hands.
What if I told you he's the best point per dollar play on the slate, according to fantasy points, by like nearly half a fantasy point per dollar?
Well, I would point out that the projections can change during the week, and that he's also Cade Otton. So those would be my counter arguments. And I'm the guy who generally always drafts the highest projected players. So
what if I told y'all that it doesn't matter because he's this generation's Witten and he's just doing the damn thing while running like a dad, and that ends up being very good.
Yes, Tyler's on my side. 2 against 1, Jake. Fuck you. All right.
I also have a shitload of Otton bags in best ball because he's the Tyler Higbee role. He's like running all the routes. He's going to catch the balls, and now he's got the nut run out, which means he's going to do what Schultz did last week and get 2 catches with the nut run out.
Probably going to happen. But whatever. I don't feel like the opportunity cost of me taking Cade Otton really hurts because I just don't see anybody that I'm in love with this week. So I'm just gonna eat it.
Yeah, and like I noted, I mean, it is a fairly deep week in terms of value, so you probably could have grabbed. I mean, there were like 10 guys, I think, in play for the overall 101.
Tyler, now the pressure is on you. Jake wins once, and suddenly he's got all these opinions. All right, Tyler, the pressure is on you. You are the number 2 pick.
No pressure. Seeing what you did at 1 makes me feel even more confident that vibes based, we're just gonna smash Tyreek Hill, priced way outside of his range this week, and we're just gonna feel great about it.
That actually feels like a really good pick. Why does he not show up better point per dollar? What the hell?
Because these spreadsheets don't know ball.
Spreadsheets don't know ball. Yeah, no, you're probably right. Latest comment. Bink King says, guys, please don't justify the Otton pick. It is the best pick.
Bink King clearly knows ball. Wow, Cade Otton, overall number 1. Someone clip this, please. Once in a lifetime pick. Yeah, I mean, you'll never find another slate where Cade Otton is discussed as a 101 in anything. I mean, I don't even know if his own wife or mom would draft him 101 on this slate.
Well, we'll see. We'll see who wins, and then we can decide whether it was the right pick after we see the winner. Jake, now you get back-to-back picks, your first and second round pick. What's it going to be?
Yeah, that was a great pick by Tyler. I definitely would have grabbed Tyreek there if he was available. I will be grabbing a teammate of his in Devon Achane, who is, just woefully underpriced here. I tweeted out earlier today, in his, I believe it's 7 games where he's earned 10 plus carries, and Tua Tagovailoa has been healthy. He's averaged 26.9 fantasy points per game, which over a full season would be the 10th best running back season of all time. I mean, he's hyper efficient, but he hasn't been this season because the offense has been so bad. The good news is the volume has been there. He's seen roughly 70% more volume as measured by expected fantasy points relative to last year. So assuming the offense can get it together, and they probably should against Arizona, which is not a great defense, Achane should smash. The red zone role, the inside the 10 role has also been awesome. He's a guy who I expect to be very popular this week. And then I want to grab the best quarterback of the week. We're going to go with Jameis Winston. We know Jameis is, generally extremely aggressive. I mean, the 30-30 season obviously speaks for itself. But the Browns also promoted Ken Dorsey to play calling duties. Stefanski is giving him up. It's going to be Dorsey. Under Dorsey, when he was the Bills OC, they were at a plus 8.9% pass rate over expectation. That would lead all teams this season. They're also massive underdogs to Baltimore. I mean, Jameis could drop back 50 times in this game. And especially for DFS, I mean, not really applicable to this format, but for like DFS tournaments, I mean, stacking him is so cheap. You have Cedric Tillman, who's projecting really well. Jerry Jeudy's only 4,800, and Njoku's a borderline lock for 12 to 15 targets, and he's barely 5K. I mean, Brown stacks are going to be really popular this week, and obviously it all starts with Jameis Winston.
I did think about Jameis Winston with my 101 pick. Didn't get there because we have so many other good-looking quarterbacks on this slate. So thought maybe he would come back to me, but not the case. Seems like a pretty solid pick. Tyler, your second pick.
I'm heartbroken because I was also wanting to windmill Jameis Winston with just probably what's going to be the most perfect 19.5-point game with 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a fumble, 6 somehow. I don't want to get locked out of another quarterback play I love. So again, vibes, baby. We're going to take Caleb Williams with a delicious matchup versus Washington. And they should get plenty of opportunities for possessions, given that Jaden's likely going to miss, which means Marcus Mariota, who looked great against a bottom 3 defense last week in Carolina, should look a lot less good this week. And as we've noted, one of the worst pass defenses in the league. And they have every reason to keep Caleb on this hot streak of soft serve defenses, just rocking and rolling. And he's got an underrated rushing floor, which is great at his salary, given that Winston is now off the table. And it keeps me from having to get really disgusting, if Neil cucks me at the 1 spot.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, definitely like that pick. I do wonder if I think Caleb Williams' upside case gets hurt a bit by Jaden Daniels potentially sitting in this game. But, for all the reasons you outlined, I do think like the median is going to be very strong for Caleb this week. Obviously, the rushing upside is there, and he's just crushed these bad defenses. I mean, against like bottom 8 defenses, he's averaging 26.5 DraftKings fantasy points per game. So even if Washington can't quite push them, which, maybe they will with Mariota, you could still have a monster game just on efficiency. And they're moving fast too. Like the pace has been really good for Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have no reason not to go make Caleb look like this generation's Patrick Mahomes, right? Like if they're up 3 scores, Shane Waldron can call whatever he wants to call, but at the end of the day, their strength is still going to be Caleb passing well. And if they lose steam and they don't get to drop a 40 or 50 burger on this team, they don't get to victory lap the win as hard. So I feel like vibes based, they have a reason to just go boat race Mariota's Commanders. And if some wacky shit happens early on, which happened in the Baltimore game where Baltimore's making their way down the field, but they get a random pick 6 that just keeps the game a little bit more exciting. You love Jaden pushing it on the other end, but it feels like Cliff is going to call what Cliff calls, and Mariota giving him confidence. Probably they feel like, we can get tricky, we can make it work. And I feel like you got to play this with the median with the ceiling outcome, and it feels like a good play there. I definitely feel like I would have gotten tempted by like the Bo Nixes of the world, and couldn't live with myself if he goes out there and just shits the bed.
I was talking to Ryan about Bo Nix. I think on last week's slate, I think we all would have been really excited to play a guy like Bo Nix. But this week, I don't know if you can. I mean, the matchup's obviously awesome, but you really just don't need to get there with Nix. There's so much other value on the board that I think Nix is just not going to end up being very popular.
Well, he's sitting there. I'm going to be tempted to like, that's my way to lever a bigger player, and then that's how I get a garbage fucking lineup. So this was me calling my second and short run to keep me from going YOLO ball Winston pick in the end zone, because it was there. I saw it.
Yeah. All right, it's back to me, and I have back-to-back picks here. I went with value with my first pick, so I can pay up a little bit at running back. Breece Hall, just an absolute smash. Going to put up, I don't want him in the flex. Going to put up 35 fantasy points this week at just 7,300. The price is a little bit too low for Breece Hall. So that is just an easy pick for me. Who do I want besides Breece Hall? All right, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about who I prefer. There's a lot of pretty similar names here. No, I'm going to go with T. Higgins, 6,500 against Philadelphia. I like the price tag on T. I am a little bit afraid because I think that they probably should go back to Jamar Chase at some point. But the price is right on T. Higgins. Nice matchup with the Eagles. So that's where I'm going. T. Higgins with Breece Hall and K-Dot. And I still have 54.50 left per player. Plenty of salary left. And right back to Tyler.
You mentioned it, so I just have to be like, the price is wrong, Bob. The price is right joke. I had to. So I'm sitting here torn. I just said I did not want to get stuck with the Bo Nix temptation, and yet I sit here and I'm tempted by a Broncos player, and that surely feels like a landmine I'm stepping on. But we're gonna stick with the vibes, and we're gonna say Javonte Williams up against the Carolina defense. They do one thing really well, and it's run the ball, whether or not they should. And this is like, he gets there with 2 touchdowns last week. Phenomenal. Great. We love it. It was the matchup he was supposed to do that with. Seems like he's got strong usage in both phases of the game. And Bo Nix is looking shaky as ever. And they're going to get plenty of opportunities versus Bryce Young's hapless team with a very solid defense. So worst case scenario, he gets some short fields, some good red zone work. And their wide receiver core really hasn't put it together with Reynolds missing and Cortland Sutton kind of being out of sorts. And wouldn't be surprised if they kind of put Sutton on the back burner as a potential trade partner as the deadline looms. There's rumors going around. Javonte seems to be the engine of the offense right now. This game is soft enough to make him look good again, and it just feels like a good fit for a median, but also another potential 20-point game if we get. And Bijan and Tyler Algier both tore this team up. So there's certainly a game where Javonte could get there in the first 3 quarters, pay off, and then anything else is gravy. It just feels like the right matchup, the right vibes. We're gonna stick with it.
Yeah, definitely best possible matchup. Can't argue with that. Back to Jake. Now you have back-to-back picks for your 3rd and 4th round picks.
Yeah, I think I want to lock up some value here. So I'm going to stack my boy Jameis with Cedric Wilson. Cedric Tillman.
No. He said Cedric Wilson.
He didn't say Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson on my team. Don't put Cedric Wilson on my team. He's not on the Browns. We all know what I was trying to say. Cedric Tillman led all wide receivers last week in expected fantasy points. The usage was truly incredible. Now, if I was Scott Barrett, I would sit here and say, once Jameis Winston came into the game for the final 4 minutes, he attempted 12 passes. 4 of those went to Jerry Jeudy. Only 2 went to Cedric Tillman. That said, it's a 12 drop back sample. I really don't think you can take a lot from that. The reality is the price is right. The team's going to attempt a ton of dropbacks. Baltimore's pass defense has not been exceptional, and that sort of frees up salary for me. I think I got, kind of my ideal cheap stack here, and now I can draft really just the best available plays. And looking at running back, I think there's going to be plenty of decent options for me at wide receiver. And obviously Neil already drafted his tight end.
I could do 2. I could have 2 tight ends.
I guess you can. That is always a possibility. Let's see. Okay, I think the running back that I want will probably be here when it comes back around to me. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers here at tight end. I mean, he really needs no introduction. Kansas City is the single best schedule adjusted matchup right now for opposing tight ends. So this is a fantastic matchup. And obviously the volume has been incredible. The only thing that can slow Brock Bowers down is Desmond Ridder, but thankfully Gardner Minshew is the starter this week, even though Ridder will be active as the backup. So as long as Gardner can stay healthy, Bowers should be posting. I mean, realistically, he should be closer to like 7,300 with the usage he's seeing. He's seeing low end wide receiver 1 volume right now, and is obviously producing like a low end wide receiver 1 as well. Bowers is just a fantastic pick, a great value.
Do we believe in the matchup thing with the Kansas City defense? Like, do you think it's going to be the thing? Do you think at the end of the year, they're going to be a bottom 5? Like, if you just look like the last 5 games of the season, so not accounting for early in the year, if we, at the end of the year, when we do like the last 5 weeks, do you think they will be a bottom 5 or a top 5 matchup for tight ends? Or do you think this is just kind of a fluky thing? I go back and forth on, like, is this actually a good matchup for tight ends? Or is that just kind of what's happened so far? Do you guys have any thoughts? Is it just like, is Kansas City, do they just take away your best player and the tight end typically is not the best player? I don't know. I can't decide.
Their corners seem a lot stronger in coverage than their linebackers. I think it's just as simple as that, frankly.
Okay. So you think it is real? So you think it's real? Like it's,
I mean, I think it's specifically dictated by the Spags defense. Like, I believe they'd rather keep everything in the middle of the field where they can tackle it versus giving up. But I think it's really just about trying to like limit the explosives of the run game and the pass game. And the tight end is the least likely position to hurt you with yak or big plays. It seems like a philosophical thing.
Yeah, I think Tyler's take definitely makes sense. And I actually did just pull up schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed, even if we exclude week 1, where Isaiah Likely, obviously just cook them. Kansas City is still a top 4 schedule adjusted matchup for opposing tight ends, just looking at weeks 2 through 7. So I certainly think there's something there with the matchup, but even if it was neutral or slightly below average, I mean, like I said, Brock Bowers should be 1,200 more expensive.
Yeah,
he's averaging almost 19 expected fantasy points per game in his games without Devontae Adams. They just seem to be feeding him more and more and more. Maybe Jacoby Myers' return eats into that a little bit because they just have no one at wide receiver. I mean, it's Trey Tucker and UDFAs. I promise you they could find a better guy looking at the UFL than they could at the end of their roster right now. It is bad for receivers in Vegas.
Yeah, agreed there for sure. All right, back to Tyler for your 4th round pick.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with we're gonna stack up Caleb with my tight end here with Cole Kmet. His usage and his efficiency is fantastic. His price is very fine, and if we're gonna correlate some ceilings, one of the strongest I can is with tight ends getting touchdowns and with Caleb throwing touchdowns. And his usage and his efficiency has just been a lot better than his late season ADP and detractors suggested. And we saw Keenan Allen operate as a fat tight end and catch 2 of those touchdowns last week. What if those go back to Cole Kmet, who's just been running hot? And we've just seen that be a multi-game thing with other quarterbacks. And Shane Waldron surely does seem like the type of guy to say, when it broke, don't fix it. And he and Kmet have a really strong chemistry. So I just, from a median and a ceiling projection here, feels like a good stack to lock down.
All right, going Cole Kmet, and it's back to me. Okay. Who do I prefer here? I think I'm going to go. Do I lock up some more value here? I think I might. I don't know who my preference is, though. All right, I'm going to do. It's just more fun for me, and I know Tyler loves this guy, so I'm just going to take a guy that I know Tyler loves, and that being McMillian, Jalen McMillan, picking up a lot of value here, and it's debatable whether he is going to be the wide receiver 1 on his team, but I'm just going to load up on Tampa here.
It's debatable if he's not complete dog shit.
It is also
right
debatable
now.
if he's not complete dog shit right now.
Very
He's
sad.
only 3,700.
I know that our film guys, our charters, have pointed out that he has not looked good on film, but at the same time, I mean, he did claim that wide receiver 3 role pretty much immediately. I do think there's some juice there, and I mean, it's either him or Kate Otten. So I guess Neil secured all of the Tampa Bay targets this week. So good job.
Which means they're going to all go to all the other ancillary pieces.
Trey Palmer or something, yeah.
Get ready to learn Sterling Shepard steals your soul, bud.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready for Sterling Shepard to just end everything. We don't have great value running backs from what I'm seeing, which does make it a little bit tricky here.
Yeah, there's really nothing below 6K that's super tempting. I think, between 6 and 8K, there's a ton of really great running back plays. But yeah, like you noted, I mean, there really isn't a lot of great value there. Also, I wanted to note on Tyler's Kmet pick, the touchdown upside, I think everyone accepts as being really good. Over his last 2 games, 94% of snaps and 100% of snaps inside the red zone. No other Bears players above 75%. So, or Bears receiver, I should say. I believe Swift is 78, 80%. So yeah, the red zone role for Kmet is really, really good.
It makes sense because we're talking about ass men, big ass guy here. His separation and his zone coverage work is just really good, and he's a big man with big mitts. Sometimes it's simple.
yeah, for sure.
All right, I get one more here. I think I'm going to go to J.K. Dobbins at 6,900. Pretty nice matchup here with New Orleans. Don't have much that I love at running back, but just a really strong value at 6,900. The usage has been awesome all year for J.K. Dobbins. So yeah, I think a strong enough pick for my 5th pick on the board. Still have 55.25 left per player, and sending it right back to Tyler for your 5th round pick.
Damn it, Neil.
Love it. I love to hear that. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing to hear when I take somebody that somebody else wanted, because that's what happened.
No. I'm sitting here. I built my entire offseason and summer brand and I'm just, do I swallow the pill or not? I think he'll make him back to me. So I'm going to go with another vibes-based I know ball approach. I'm going to say you've taken the wrong Buccaneers is what I'm going to say, Neil. I'm saying Rachaad White receiving is now back on the menu as Godwin replacement. And it's kind of gross, but we saw it. It makes sense. And the coach speak seems to indicate that he's just going to get, this is DraftKings. This is PPR. His floor is pretty set with Godwin being out and them saying we're just going to lean on the young guys. And right now the young guys look like shit, and they're going to get pushed by an Atlanta team that's playing really, really hot right now, both via Bijan, via London. Kyle Pitts is catching 50-yard touchdowns, so they're going to be pushed. And in hurry up stuff without a tried and true Godwin and Evans on the field, it sure does seem like they're going to lean on White in the pass game. More than they probably should.
When you can take a running back who's in a 3-headed committee, I mean, it's hard to pass on a value like that.
The thing is, Sean Tucker ended up not popping off like we thought he would, and and Bucky's good, but I this really does seem like an offense is going to start kind of operating like a shitty Lions, where it's like when the shit's not working, it's going to be using the running backs, and they've talked about White being their trusted pass down back. So it's not fun. It doesn't feel great. But the thesis in my head is that, hey, he's going to get some of that Godwin role until they realize we can't rely on the young guys. And next week when they trade for Kupp, when they trade for Deontay Johnson, when they trade for Cortland Sutton, you can safely then put your Rachaad White back in the fade folder.
To answer, I am the Kai's question. It says, don't like Chase Brown under 6K. Seems cheap. I am the KY. Okay. Seems cheap for double-digit carries and a few targets. Just doesn't project well enough point per dollar. I actually thought about Chase Brown, just because of the value, but point per dollar projection for a 3-man contest, it feels a little bit too thin. Do you guys see it the same way? Or Jake, are you about to pick him?
I'm not about to pick him. I do think he would be viable. The usage was still pretty encouraging last week. It was still about 60-40 in favor of Brown. So it does seem like they want to stick with Brown as sort of their 1A in the committee, but there was positive coach speak on Zach Moss in the passing game fairly recently. So I don't know. It's still a bit of a split backfield, and 5,800. I don't think you're getting enough salary savings. If he was like 53, then he'd probably be off the board by now. I imagine one of us would have already considered it, but the prices makes him more of a neutral play to me, I'd say.
Yeah. Jake, now you have back-to-back picks, your 5th round and 6th round pick. Looks like you have 5840 if I'm reading my screen right. 5840 left per player.
That's a pretty decent amount of salary to work with here. Let's see. Wide receiver. There's no one super exciting. So I'll get my first pick out of the way here. I'll go with Joe Mixon. The workload for Mixon has just been incredible. It's been really frustrating for fantasy to see Houston be so run heavy when CJ Stroud is obviously a great quarterback, but that benefits no one more than Joe Mixon. I believe Scott Barrett had a note in the Everything report that without Mixon in the lineup, they were throwing the ball closer to 60% of the time inside the red zone. With Mixon, that falls to like 35% inside the red zone. So the whole rushing offense runs through Mixon. They also get him great looks as a wide receiver, and we know Indianapolis is just a fantastic matchup for opposing running backs. There's also a bit of game script dependency there with Mixon. And, this should be a game that Houston wins, especially if AR, as one of his super erratic, multi-pick, just passes going everywhere kind of games. So, I think the upside case for Mixon is really strong. And I think the floor case is as well. Also definitely agree with Bing King's comment. I think this is going to be a pretty solid bounce back spot for Tank Dell. But he will not be my next pick. I'm going to go with, this is tough. Wide receiver feels very like there really aren't a lot of standout plays right now at wide receiver. There's some decent value on the board, but there's no one I'm super excited about, at least at this point in the week. This is tricky. I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett. This is more of a value bet. And obviously if Metcalf plays, I'm not going to feel great about it. The matchup isn't ideal, but the volume should be there. Yeah, that's probably the best I can say about Tyler Lockett. I didn't want to bargain bin dive too much. I feel like I got most of my value out of the way. So I think this is probably the best for where my build's at right now.
All right, 5,300 left per player for Jake. Sending it back to Tyler, who has 5,150 left per player. Tyler, who's your 6th round pick going to be?
You know, I think we're gonna do a double tight end with David Njoku as our flex.
Really good last week.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen this story before. The second there's a quarterback that's willing to take middle of the field shots and throw it deep with some accuracy, they're going to get boat raced by Baltimore, and he's just looked really good. He's both a yak guy and a deep guy, and if the Cedric Tillman stuff flops, he benefits. If it's just Tillman and Njoku, he benefits again. He's just a better player than Jerry Jeudy. And they have every reason to get him working. And we saw him have an insane stretch last year with Flacco. Winston is like Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Flacco had a baby that had ADHD. And I'm all about it for a lot of outs, a lot of strong usage. And as far as salary is concerned, gives me the flexibility I need to navigate the rest of this roster.
All right. So now it's back to me for back-to-back picks. This is interesting. Do I go to
pick so much?
You hate what?
I hate my white pick so much.
Me too. Yeah, it's a really bad pick.
I was looking at your roster, Tyler, and I was like, wow, this looks pretty good. And then I saw Rachaad White, and I was like,
just ruined everything.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but you got to do things sometimes to zig when other people are zagging. You know, they laughed at Bill Belichick, and he's got how many rings?
Yeah, I mean, if this works, you'll be number 1 on our list for repeat guests on the cage match. That's for sure.
Well, there we go, shooting our shot. That's what
I'd say if it doesn't work, I'm going to invite him back. If it does work,
yeah,
I'm
that's
also
no,
I'd rather.
No, yeah, that's yeah. So probably no matter what, Tyler, you'll be on our list.
Locked and loaded. You got to feel the love.
Man, Ladd McConkey, the usage has been so strong. I've already got J.K. Dobbins in there. Do I just eat the entire? I think I do. I think I just got to lock up Ladd McConkey here in my.
Now that one's for me, Neil.
That was for you. I said it was. We had the debate all summer. Tyler and I. He loved Ladd McConkey. I thought that Josh Palmer was a good value in like pick 130 in best ball. I talked Tyler into it finally. He actually bought in, and then Josh Palmer moved up to like pick 100. So it was a great closing line value pick at the time that I loved Josh Palmer.
CLVs feeding families every week.
Yeah, really.
The most interesting thing with McConkey is that everyone is so excited about his target shares, but they still just aren't throwing the ball very much, which has been a huge problem.
That is true.
7 targets, 8 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets last 4 games. Those, that's obviously pretty great for a rookie wide receiver, and the target shares look incredible. But, at 5,100, I don't know if you're getting a ton of value there overall in terms of this pass game role, especially if, this could be a blowout script, which I think really helps Dobbins, but, could certainly
you can count on LA to make every game much harder than it should be.
That is true. No matter who's the coach or the players, they always seem to find a way.
Yeah, you want to talk about a cursed franchise?
Oh my god, dude! I was all over them for I think it was the 2021 Super Bowl, and yeah,
I just love that Neil mentioned evering but the Josh Palmer run out. He's like, the CLV was great. I got him on board.
It went really well, and everything went. And then end of story there. Really went well for me with Josh Palmer.
Here, folks. Go home.
All right, it's my pick. I am struggling a little bit with this one. I'm going to come up with the perfect pick. So just give me 1 second here to come up with the perfect pick, because I'm right on the board here. I'm so close to the perfect pick.
Hold on, honey. I'm not old. I'm going to get it up. Just give me a sec. Hold on.
So I've already, screw it. I've got 2 Tampa receivers. I'm going to do the run back. I'm going to do Drake London. He's just been awesome. The usage has been fantastic for London. He's only 7,200. Great matchup with Tampa Bay. So hard to argue with that. Now, I mean, I can wait on quarterback because you guys have both taken your quarterbacks early. So let me think for a second about which defense which combo do I want of defense and quarterback? I can just do whatever. I can tell you guys exactly what I want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if I wanted a $7,600 quarterback, I could go with the Titans. Is there any quarterback I love at 7,600? I did think about taking Jalen Hurts. So that's a thought. Jalen Hurts against Cincinnati feels pretty good. I'll think about that one. I could also take Jalen Hurts with the Panthers against Denver. That's interesting. Jaguars against Green Bay.
Have you considered Bo Nix?
I don't need Bo Nix at this point. I mean, I could take Bo Nix, an expensive defense, but no, I'm not gonna have to do that. I'm just gonna be able to take whoever I want, basically.
Neil, not a big backdoor Bo guy. You hate to see it.
I honestly was thinking I was gonna end up with Bo Nix. I thought about going with AJ Brown here.
AJ Brown's fun.
Which maybe I could have done AJ Brown with Jalen Hurts actually, and still been able to. No, I couldn't. I couldn't have done that. Never mind. I could go. Wait, do I want to stack with Burrow? That's a thought. Then I have 2,800 left. No, I think ultimately I just want to go with Jalen Hurts. Just gonna pay up at quarterback and figure it out. Not gonna worry about stacking. Gonna take the best quarterback. 2,300 left. And I have one pick left for defense.
Really feels like a week to me where Saquon Barkley is going to score all of the Eagles' touchdowns. So, good try with that big deal. But
thank you.
Maybe better luck in week 9. All right. So it looks like I have like pretty great salary flexibility here as long as I can pick a cheaper defense.
Wait. Did I not? I did not move. Oh. I didn't make one of your picks.
It's Tyler, right? Yeah.
It is Tyler. But I missed one of Tyler's picks. Who did I forget to put in here? It was oh shit.
Hold on, I'm looking.
The double tight end. Need a wide receiver. You're 5166.
Unless I just got. Did I get passed over? Did you get gluttonous with triple dipping when you were just doing doubles?
Man, can we run the tape back? Who? Man. So Jake went Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
5, 6, 1, 2,
it feels like that was an hour ago that Jake took Tyler Lockett.
3, 4, 5. I think you triple dipped, Neil. I think that's what it was. I think you soliloquied so long that you forgot you took. Because you went Dobbin, or you went T and Ladd, wasn't it? Or London.
That might be right. All right. You're right. Okay, good. Thanks for freaking that out.
Yeah.
Well, I can still just do it the next time, probably.
No.
All right.
You gave us your evil master plan and got really carried away.
Yeah, Neil loses 1 week and all of a sudden he's trying to sneak 3 picks in a row on us.
Yeah, I have to. You got to do what you got to do. That's how you win these things.
Where am I? I get 3 picks, right?
Yeah. All right, back to Tyler.
Man, the mention's hitting hard. You hate to see it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, come back, Tyler. We love to steal picks from our guests. As a self-pronounced ass man, I'm going to take a grown ass man in Brian Thomas, whose usage and efficiency has been fantastic, and his price is frankly too cheap. And he's the engine of the offense, and goddamn, does he look fantastic?
Yeah, he's been pretty awesome. Hard to argue with that. Jake, you have 3 picks left. You get 2 of them now.
Yeah, I was definitely considering Brian Thomas instead of Tyler Lockett. I think I wanted to pay up slightly more at running back. The question is, who do I do it with? I'm going to go with James Conner. The usage for Conner in week 6 was like pretty concerningly bad, but he was dealing with an injury. It was a blowout script. Last week it was awesome. He logged his highest route share of the season. I believe he had every single backfield touch minus 1 carry. So this is really, really great usage for James Conner. And obviously with Tua coming back for Miami, generally we'd be a little worried about, Miami's favored by, I believe, 3.5 here. We'd be a little bit worried about a negative game script. with James Conner, but after the 66% route share last week, I'm not sure that's a significant concern. He'll never see big target volume. Kyler Murray doesn't throw to running backs a ton, but him just being out there on passing downs will keep him alive in those like 2-minute drill scenarios once they get inside the 10 and can hand him the ball. So I really like James Conner this week, and I'd imagine in DFS he'll probably fly a bit under the radar given the recent usage shift that we've seen, but we'll see how the rest of the week shapes up with him in terms of ownership. So now I have to figure out, let's see, I think I know roughly what I want to do at defense. So that gives me like 68-ish to play with at wide receiver. Let's see what I can do with that. Well, we don't want Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's in the MVS clear out role, just running deep routes over and over again. You get a generational wide receiver prospect, you got to put him in just the worst downfield role imaginable where he can only earn a route a target every 15 routes. It's awful what the Cardinals have done with their passing offense. It really is a shame given the sheer amount of talent they have.
If you covered up the franchise names and the player names, you'd think that was the offense that Greg Roman took over.
No kidding, right? Yeah, it's man, it is rough. I didn't really come in thinking I would want to make this pick, but I do think it's a pretty good pick given my salary constraints. I'm going to go with DJ Moore here against Washington. I mean, I handled some of the Bears projections earlier today and last night for fantasypoints.com, and Odunze, Keenan Allen, either of them can fight for the scrap. Same with Kmet, but DJ Moore seems to be the clear alpha here. We know he has the big playability, and again, I'm still kind of optimistic maybe that Jaden Daniels will play and this could turn into a bigger shootout. But either way, it's a strong matchup for DJ Moore, and like I said, he's a guy who's been earning targets and could obviously break the slate with a monster score as well.
I did that with Deontay Johnson last week. It did not go well for me, Jake. So best of luck to you with your top receiver against Washington.
Have you considered that DJ Moore is better and isn't dealing with 3 injuries at once right now?
I don't think that's true. I don't think he's better than Deontay Johnson. No, I do. Sure, I'll accept that. But he also might be having Marcus Mariota throwing to him. So
DJ Moore, did Marcus Mariota just get traded to Chicago?
You're right. I'm all mixed up right now. All right, Tyler. We're just gonna move on. Tyler, it is back to you.
I know. I'm loving this new Neil's losing his mind bit.
Yeah, this is really good. We'll keep going with this after me or Tyler.
Back in my day, when Marcus Mariota was throwing to DJ Moore, we had ice cream. I tell you. We're gonna take. I mean, I can't stop playing the Denver Broncos defense, and they're delicious. And that's why you take your Wheaties of Rachaad White and double tight end so that you can feast on the remains that is the husk of Bryce Young. They're all the way at the top, Neil.
Oh, damn. 3,700. All right. Yeah. When you can spend 3,700 on a defense, you have to do that. Tyler, man.
Have you seen Bryce Young play, brother?
Good. Fair point, actually. And they're very good.
I didn't realize I could spend Skalansky bucks at the bank. I thought I needed real monies.
Yeah. All right. We already teased what I want to do with my lineup. I have 9,800 left. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do Jalen Hurts. I'm going to throw in Panthers defense against Bo Nix. Not a good defense, but man, I was debating: do I want to do Bo Nix or do I want to do Panthers or Titans? They have a very good defense. Detroit a much better offense, but they're going to throw a lot more. No, I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to go with the Tennessee defense. This might kill me. I'm going to go with Tennessee against Detroit. I just think Tennessee's defense is very, very good. Detroit will throw a lot more than the Broncos will. So I think the Titans are the better pick here. So I'm leaving $100 on the table. My team is done. It is perfect. It is beautiful. Nothing better than this one. And we'll send it back to Tyler to make your final wide receiver pick for $500, $5,400.
My $500 wide receiver is Antonio Brown. He's coming at the highest discount he's ever come at. So this is where it's like, I'm breaking a couple rules, but that's how you make omelets, baby. You break the eggs. So I'm over here torn that if I use all my salary, I have a Miami double, which feels bad with Jalen Waddle. But the whole thesis of taking Tyreek Hill and saying this is a bad price is that Tua's playing this week. Jalen Waddle's got the questionable tag, so now it becomes, do I want to be the schmuck, assuming he plays, and get Jacob Sanderson with a big old snowflake? Because
You can swap out if your player ends up being out. You can make a swap.
Yeah, I know, but this is like he'll probably go, but then it's like, is Tua going? And if Tua doesn't go, doubling his pass catchers is asking for a bad time. But you look at all these other names, and they all feel worse. So the question is, man, you'd love to play Rome, but his usage and he's talk about sporadic, and I don't think I need a double Caleb. Yeah, I think we'll just do it. We'll Miami double with Waddle. That'll be the play.
I like it. All right.
Yeah, I do really like both those Miami picks. One note that I had that'll be in Scott Barrett's DFS slate breakdown. This is the cheapest Tyreek Hill has been since his Miami Dolphins debut. It's the cheapest Jalen Waddle has been since his rookie season. So these are like historically low prices on these Miami guys. I mean, again, like DraftKings is really making it easy for casual players, the guys who draft teams on the toilet, because they're going to see 7K Tyreek, with Tua back, and that's going to be, he'll probably be 40 or 50% owned this week. And
somehow it can be just that easy sometimes.
It can, Tyler.
It can be.
For my last pick, I've got a defense remaining. I could go with, there's a few different options, but I mean, maybe Chicago against Washington, but if Jayden Daniels plays, I would be pretty frightened about that pick. So I'm just going to take the safer bet, go with Atlanta against Tampa Bay. That also helps me get a little bit of leverage on Neil's Kate Otten pick. And Tyler, I believe you drafted
and Jalen McMillan.
Oh yeah, you
took
both. McMillan. Okay, yeah.
He has Rashad White too.
All right, yeah. This gives me great leverage. Just need the Tampa Bay offense to fail, and I should walk into another 80 or 100 point victory.
I thought for sure you were going to go with the Bears there. I guess you are right that Jayden Daniels may play this week. I think feels like
the coach speak is pretty negative on it. They said that they want him at full go, and he's not even going to touch the practice field till he feels good, and he's definitely not starting till he's back to doing his thing. And they don't feel like he's close to doing his thing. So like the coach tea leaves strongly suggests that earliest is next week.
It's kind of my feeling too. And Chicago then against Marcus Mariota, really, really strong defense.
Yeah, that certainly would feel good. I mean, I guess my only other holdup would be that Washington has been by far the league's most efficient offense. I mean, obviously it was against Carolina last week, but
that was with Jayden Daniels.
Mariota still looked pretty good.
No.
That's true, but they still have all the other pieces. They still have their play caller. So
sure,
I don't know. You could still see, a relatively efficient performance from Washington this week. I mean, their implied total isn't particularly bad. I imagine there isn't a big gap in between the Tampa Bay and the Washington implied totals this week. So
Mariota's not like really
that selection.
Yeah, Mariota's not like really good, but they can run that like run option stuff, and the run game's been the most efficient thing by far. And when it comes to that and read option stuff, they can minimize Mariota as much as they want and make this still competitive. Unless the Bears really do just figure out their run scheme, which through 7 weeks, Washington has not had any hiccups doing what they want to do with the likes of McNichols, Eckler, and B-Rob.
Yeah. Binking asks, how much different would these lineups look on Saturday night? Extremely. In my case, at least, they would look very. First of all, by Saturday night, I have done a review. I've looked through the usage, the defensive matchups for the entire week. I spent a lot of time on it. When we go into the show, I have not looked at anything. so it would look very, very different for me if I were doing this on Saturday. Also, like last week, I drafted Ray Davis and Tyrone Tracy, assuming that they were the starting running backs. Neither of them were. I don't think we have that issue necessarily this week.
Tyrone Tracy worked well ahead of Singletary. Just remains to be seen. If that's going to stay, or if that was a 1 week injury thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's obviously just like a ton of injury news that you get when you draft later in the week, but also, projections get so much more accurate, not
Yeah.
just because we have more information, but because every site looks at every other site for what they should do with the projections they're unsure about. And then they just regress towards whoever they, assume is the sharpest. So you see projections really start to harden on like Friday, Saturday night, and that's when they can actually be like safely relied upon more than they can right now. Like everyone's first run just isn't that good. It doesn't matter what site you look at, they're going to have some outliers, some stuff where you're like, oh, that's not quite right. And then by Saturday, pretty much every site you think like, oh yeah, okay, all these make sense. So that's the show would be a lot different if we drafted on Saturday night. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, so we'll end with some reviews of our teams, and Jake, we have yours pulled up here. How are you feeling about your team this week?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about my team. I wish I had a little bit more juice at wide receiver. I think Lockett and Tillman, if anyone's going to kill me, it would probably be those picks. But I feel really, really good about, getting the top value quarterback in Jameis Winston. I love my running backs, Achane, Mixon, James Conner should all see fantastic usage. And they're all guys who can get there, sort of regardless of game script. Obviously, you're hoping for more positive game script with all those guys, but they have the receiving roles that you need to, to be safe if the game gets out of hand. And in the opposite direction, I got, the alpha tight end of the century, Brock Bowers. And like I said, as long as Desmond Ridder stays off the field, Brock Bowers will continue to score tons of fantasy points. And then, my defense, could have been Chicago. I did check implied totals just now. Washington's at 20.5. Tampa Bay is at 22.25. So I gave up a little bit in terms of implied total, but really all we need, Neil, is one defensive touchdown. And all the criticism will just fade away on my defense pick. So that's what I'm hoping for. Baker Mayfield throws, maybe the worst pick six of his entire life because these new wide receivers just can't seem to get open.
They are for what is. I just pulled up the defensive projections at Fantasy Points. Currently, the Falcons the 9th best projection on the slate. I was hoping that the Titans would project a little bit better than they do. They have the 2nd worst projection on the slate. So maybe I should. No, actually, they're better than the Panthers. So those are the two options I was deciding between. They are better than the Panthers. So that is good at least. Actually, the Jaguars have the best projection of the 3 that I had as options, but I'm happy with the Titans there. All right, Tyler, how are you feeling about your team?
It's just got one scarlet letter, man. That shit sucks. But I it's that type of shit that like it's probably right. I really, the Winston pick going off the board hurts because ideally you get like a smash like Mixon, and looking back, it's like for salary and everything. Like, but it makes sense. I wanted some really strong onesie median and ceilings. I'm thank God I had 2 strong solid double tight end. I really didn't think I was going to get an Njoku. And I think that really bails out the lineup there, and that's the comfort. And then, it all hinges on Tua. And, so it's like you go after that, you live and die by the sword. He was limited today. So he's got time to make it through concussion protocol. But it just seems like floor and ceiling feel really, really solid for this outside of, one pick really. And I'm banking that it's not going to matter because he's going to catch 5 passes and the rest of those guys are going to go fucking nuclear. And I mean, the Broncos alone are going to put up 30 points against Bryce Young. Last I checked. It's going to be 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be great. And the Bears are going to just, it's not hibernation season yet. It's time to tear apart the hapless Commanders.
For what it's worth, Tyler, I do really think Tua's gonna clear. He said he stopped having any sort of concussion.
Yeah, the clearance should go, and then you're just concerned about the Waddle ankle thing. But Wednesdays are typically more of like the vet rest day. So all I can say is next week the bright shining sunlight of my tremendous win is going to be so blinding that I'm not going to be able to come on to the show the next time you invite me without these protective sunglasses.
Oh man, look at this guy. Those are cool sunglasses. Hard to argue with the Tyler sunglasses. Binking says, I'm picking Tyler to win this week Sorry, Neil. I think the implication there is that Jake, you don't even think about as like having a chance. It's just like it comes down to Neil and Tyler
I
as the
think
two teams that have a chance here. He's choosing Tyler.
Neil, the implication is that your feelings would be the most hurt by a loss, so or by his pick. So that's why he was saying
you
sorry.
think so?
He knows that I'm very resilient. Obviously, I have proven this
Because you've been
Continue
through
to go
so
up.
many losses
Yes.
and
Yeah,
continue
it
to
was.
come back.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah,
if I have two
well,
losses
and a
in a
lot
row, I
of
might just
a
quit.
lot of losses that, you know, many people, many very smart people were saying were quite questionable. Obviously, there was Neil's historic swap to Dallas Goedert. Many were calling that a fraudulent swap.
It was
There was
I left
also Jordan Mason.
$1,500 on the table that week.
There was Jordan Mason's last second run in week 5 that put him
That
over
was just
the 100-yard bonus. You know, many
the
people
whole-
were saying, a lot of people
whole
were saying
thesis
that
of the
that
play.
should not have counted. So I did want to point out those two things as well for you know, why
I'd like to
why
meet
I'm
two
so
of these people.
resilient.
Just introduce
Not-
me to two of these people.
Not to be too political here, but leave it to the guy wearing a red hat to be like, recount
Hey, this is
fraudulent
the
votes.
hat for the now defunct Philadelphia Stars. But all I'm saying is,
Philadelphia
you know,
Stars.
a lot of people are saying.
I'm an XFL bro, so I don't even know who the Philadelphia Stars are. I don't care about the USFL or whatever the hell whatever they're from. All right, my team, Brees Hall, I love. J.K. Dobbins, love it. T. Higgins, I vibes based. I don't love the vibes of like it. This is totally not numbers based, but it just feels like Jamar Chase is due and T. Higgins is due for some regression here. They've just gone too much to T. Higgins. Hopefully it continues for one more week. That they just target T. Higgins a ton. I don't love Jalen McMillan. I didn't love the K. Dotton pick. Did love the Lad McConkey pick. Just a really solid $5,100 pick. Love the Drake London pick. Love the Titans pick. Ultimately, I don't need to love all my picks. I just need to beat these two losers, and I feel really strongly that my team is good enough to beat these guys. So, yeah, no, this is a good enough team. Good enough team.
Spoken like an old man that looks back on his life. I didn't have to love all of it. I just have to beat these two schmucks at his local park chess game at 85.
And if I'm playing chess at 85 years old in the park, I'll feel good about that because that will mean that I have learned how to play chess. So, you know.
Oh, it'll be against pigeons, but it'll be really cute, Neil. I mean, the TikToks of you playing pigeon chess is going to be phenomenal.
All right, we're over an hour in.
I was just going to say, Neil seems more like a 40s and cigarettes in the park than a chess in the park.
Yeah. All right, you understand me, but I'm not smart enough for chess, but I'm smart enough to smoke a cigarette.
I didn't say you'd be good, Neil. I just said that's how you meet
okay.
friends.
You said I'd play pigeons.
You're playing. I didn't say you're winning.
That's fair. All right, we're at the end of the show. Tyler, starting with you, where can people find you? Are you doing any work during like in-season work? Are you doing any kind of content for people? Other than that, where can people find you?
Yeah, in season, I got 2 streams a week on the Fantasy Sanctuary YouTube channel. Go check it out. Usually, we're doing. It feels like the Friday afternoon, evening slots for Battle Royale, Pick'ems, start sit, whatever folks want to chop it up and whatever's in the lobby to draft. We do that on Fridays, and then I go live on the Fantasy Sanctuary YouTube Sunday right before kickoff to answer folks' last minute emergency start sits for all those late breaking news and medical takes using the fine folks data, including Jeff Mueller and Edwin Porres, paywalled data sheets to help give folks some navigation. We've had some super solid hits. Other than that, Tom and Rich doing fantastic work on the Fantasy Sanctuary for everything else, DFS, redraft. We'll be doing some I think we're close enough now to do another round of best ball portfolio lookovers after this week too. Cool. So that's probably on tap for this week or next week, depending on how things shake out. And then I'm at emo__cowboy on Twitter because the coward that owns the non-underscores will not relent, and I will find him and I will take that glorious tag.
It's up to you, Elon. Elon, you got to just get rid of those old guys who don't use those anymore. Should be Tyler's. All right, emo__cowboy on Twitter. Jake, how about you? What do you have coming up for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I'll be helping Scott Barrett out with his weekly slate breakdown. So that goes up Saturday mornings, generally around 10, 11 a.m. Everything you need, full overview of the DFS slate, all the top plays, cash game plays, values, Scott Barrett's Galaxy brain plays that I probably yell at him in the Google Doc comments about. I say, this is too much, Scott. You can't put this in writing. And, sometimes he doesn't listen to me. But that article will be out Saturdays. And then you can also find me doing a couple shows on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel. So me, Hilo, and Graham Barfield do Cashing Points every Friday night at 7 p.m. where we walk the slate. We go game by game, talk about our favorite plays, top values, Galaxy brain stuff, all of that. And then me and Ryan Heath at 8:30 on Friday nights do the Underdog Drafter Party, where we draft Battle Royale teams on Underdog. We also handle, everybody's questions. We talk about scroll down options, all of that good stuff. It's been a ton of fun. I've had some pretty great success in the Battle Royale streets thus far. I know I've mentioned this previously, Neil, but it feels a lot like DFS on easy mode. I mean, you have a ton of players in these drafts who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. You can get like some very, very unique stacks by just simply scrolling down and thinking a bit beyond, the top 36 players by ADP. So there are some massive edges in Battle Royale. It's been a ton of fun to exploit them on Friday nights at 8:30 with Ryan Heath. And yeah, I'm excited to do that more this week. I'm, just getting down more and more volume every week. It's been a lot of fun.
Very nice. Yeah, I do think Battle Royale, and I know Tyler feels the same way. A lot of fun and really easier competition than DFS in general. So definitely with you on that. For me, I just have tomorrow, I'm going to be doing the write-up for Thursday Night Football, Vikings and Rams. I'll also be doing streaming on my own channel at the Flannelverse 2 times tomorrow, one at noon Eastern with Adam Ship My Money Share, and then I'll be doing a pre-lock show as well, 90 minutes prior to the game starting. When inactives come out, I do a second stream once we have as much information as possible to go over the showdown slate. So I'll be doing that tomorrow as well. That's going to do it for this show. Tyler, appreciate you coming on. Jake, of course, fun as always, and appreciate all of you hanging out with us throughout the show. Good luck this week. We'll be back next week on Wednesday. See you then.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.